Hey everybody, it's Active Asshole on Roids here, your old buddy from Opelika, Alabama. That's Active Asshole on Roids, kryptonite for conservatives. I'm off my rocker, off my roids, and on the warpath. Here we go. It's been a while since I've made a video. Um, Work has been hectic. I've either been sleeping or at work. I'm tired as fuck right now because I just got off work, and on top of things I had to do some house chores here, and I'm still pretty sleepy and all that, and the subject matter of tonight's video is something that I've only been following for the past couple of days, not enough to really give a real good opinion, not enough to really give enough context to the to the situation I'm trying to talk about in the video. Well, the subject matter, but I'll try. I mean, I'm just this video is only going to be half transcripted and half half random ranting. So expect a somewhat kludgy video, but I couldn't put this off anymore. That, and I owe it to y'all to have at least one video after what, 2 months without having a video put out there. I tell you, at this job I've pretty much given up my life. But it was one of the only good jobs in the whole region, and beggars can't be choosers. What can I say? It's Alabama, shitty work rights, workers' rights state. Shitty social mobility. What can I say? All right. With that out of the way, here we go. Tonight I'm going to be talking about the Nevada standoff between the U.S. Bureau of Land Management and the nut jobs, the Koch funded astroturfing militia and Tea Party fucknuts that descended on southern Nevada in this past couple of weeks. And again, I can't stress this enough. I've only been following this for the past couple of days, and I thought this was probably the one of this would make a really good video subject. And I've jumped on the ball a little late with this one, I know. Anyway, the Koch-whores, Fox News, right-wing AM radio, and the rightist militia junkies have in the past few weeks galvanized themselves around a crazy identity theology touting wacko range squatter by the name of Cliven Bundy. That's how you pronounce his name anyway, Cliven. Cliven Bundy, as many of you know by now, has had his cattle grazing on federal lands in southern Nevada for over 20 years without paying his fees. He received his first court order to cease and desist in this activity in 1988, but ignored this and all later notices from there on out. Over the course of his mooching off the commons, our commonwealth, Bundy ran up a $1 million tab in unpaid fees. Eventually, the Federal Bureau of Land Management had enough of his shenanigans, and they attempted to seize his cattle to auction them off in order to pay off part of what Bundy owes the federal government. Now, this leads us to the next part. A bunch of crazy militia guys, some of them local, some of them from Utah and Utah and a few other states, Idaho. They came down, they descended on this area just outside of Las Vegas and got into a standoff with the feds. And they eventually, federal law enforcement relented and just to let things simmer. And I don't believe that they made the right decision in doing this. But I'll get to that in a moment. First off, let me address the hypocrisy of the right wing on this one issue. Had Bundy been doing this to a private interest, to a private group, they would be all up in arms about this. But no, because he's doing it to the federal government, because he's not paying his fees to the federal government, they've galvanized behind this guy like he's some kind of martyr for them. And let's not forget the hypocrisy that comes when you think about the fact that they treated Occupy Wall Street very differently from what they are treating this. The right-wing media message machine, the Rupert Murdochs, the Alex Jones Infowar nuts of the world, the Washington Times Moonies of the world, are all treating this very differently from the way they treated both the Occupied movement and protesters during the Bush administration years, when Bush set up his First Amendment zones, and Karl Rove set up their First Amendment zones for dissenters a mile away from any of Bush's speeches or it just the blatant hypocrisy in any of this, in all of this, it's so thick you could cut through it with a knife. But now they have the gall to bitch about First Amendment zones like it's some kind of nasty thing. Yeah, they sure as hell didn't think it was a bad thing back when they were doing it to everyone else. And let's not forget the Koch brothers element of this, how Americans for Prosperity, the branch from both Utah and Nevada, are trying to use this as a means of forcing privatization of the state lands so that they can make so they can obtain more land for fracking. Let me read something to you from Daily Kos. I know Daily Kos. Again, good site. I don't use it much these days. Found others to use, but it's a pretty good database. Two affiliates of the Koch-funded Americans for Prosperity are helping conservative media promote the cause of a Nevada rancher who has made violent threats against the federal government. Two of its local affiliates of Colorado and Nevada. Why did I say Utah? But again, many of the militia guys that descended on the area outside of Las Vegas are from Utah and Idaho. Getting my facts mixed up there. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. And they're pushing. They're doing this. They're doing this because they're trying to create a situation to benefit the Kochs. And back in 2012, the Utah State Legislature passed something called the Transfer of Public Lands Act. Legislation vetted and inspired by none other than the American Legislative Exchange Council, our old boys who brought us Stand Your Ground laws in Florida and the voter ID laws, whose chief funders included, you guessed it, David and Charles Koch. Signed by Governor Gary Herbert, an enthusiastic backer, mandates that the Forest Service, with 15% of Utah land, and the Bureau of Land Management, with about 42%, relinquish their domain to the State House no later than 2015. It means that, again, what this means is that the lands would go from federal to state stewardship, and the states would sell this land to private interests. They'd be able to sell this land to private interests. I'll post a link to the article in the description, in the video description. But there's another element to it right there. Now let's look at a third element to this: the right-wing militia nuts themselves, the ones that have been let off the leash, so to speak, by David and Charles Koch and their billionaire allies. These identity theology touting Timothy McVeigh wannabe sovereign citizen movement nut jobs, and these oath keeper wannabe law enforcement vigilante crazy types who have infiltrated their way into local and state law enforcement. They've been begging for an incident similar to Waco since the day Waco happened. They've been begging for an incident like that. They've been trying their best to have a self-made scenario in which they could create martyrs for their movement. And many of them saw this as a potential chance to rally people to their cause. And Alex Jones, WorldDaily.net, Washington Times, the Washington Times, Sean Hannity, and a host of other right-wing talking heads and websites and publications have been doing everything they could to drum up, just to inflare the craziness within the far-right John Bircher section of the Tea Party and libertarian circles. They are doing everything they can to, well, these militia guys, they've broken the law. They've broken the law. They've taken guns over the state lines for the express purpose of sowing civil dissent. That's a 5-year prison sentence right there. And there's no way that they can rationalize this by saying that they're somehow in the right. They believe under some bullshit pseudo-legalistic concept, some idea developed by another right-wing militia nut by the name of William Potter Gale, the man who originally developed identity theology and later developed the posse comitatus idea back in the late 1940s and early 50s. They're hiding behind this. They're trying to use this as some kind of justification, or at least it's a justification to them, for why they can break the law, for why they somehow have a free pass to use violence to threaten people whenever they don't get what they want. If they don't like a law, they like their billionaire masters, the Koch brothers. Hey, they think they can just simply take their guns out and threaten people, and they'll back off and give them what they want. The federal law enforcement and the Federal Bureau of Land Management have made the ultimate mistake in appeasing these types of people. They've made the ultimate mistake because this sets a very dangerous precedent. What this means is that the law is whatever the right-wing militia members say it is. Letting them get away with this is the worst mistake you can make. The very worst. I mean, they might decide to pursue the matter more aggressively, well, after the militia guys have dispersed enough and the situation has cooled down enough, but the damage is done. They were so scared of another Waco incident that they were too fucking terrified to uphold the United States federal government's role as the sole sovereign entity that has the authority to use force to uphold the law in this country. These domestic terrorists, these Terry Nichols in waiting, They want blood. As Winston Churchill once said, appeasement is like feeding a crocodile. Eventually, you're only buying time until you're eaten. These assholes, these militia guys, they should have been given a dirt nap right there and then. There's no reason why any of these guys should have been able to walk away without spending at least 10 to 15 years in prison for what they did. To me, this is a very sad day for America. It's a sad day because a fucking mob of armed hooligans and thugs who take their P's and Q's from a bunch of billionaire plutocrats and crazy talking heads managed to get off scot-free, seemingly. This sends the wrong message. I think this is the one thing that pissed me off most about this whole thing. The same people who practically cheered on the Oklahoma City bombing and the Waco crazy asshole David Koresh who was raping those girls. These same people got away with pulling some really fucking criminal shit. They should have had guys on the ground. I mean, for crying out loud, they kicked a police dog. Do you know what? Do they? If you shoot a police dog, it counts as shooting a cop. If you kick a police dog, it should count as assaulting an officer. They should have drugged as many of those guys off, kicking and screaming, to the local jail to await trial as they possibly could. If there was a shootout, hey, let them have it. They should have just let them have it, full frontal. Well, I mean, if this leads to another incident like this, personally, I hope whoever's in charge of that incident has better common sense. Well, has better sense. Apparently, sense is not necessarily common anymore. Anyway, this is Active Asshole on Roids. It was a long-ass video, very choppy, very fucked up, and only part of it was transcripted. But I said everything I wanted to say. Again, to my subscribers and I'd like to give a shout out to Republicans Are Nazis for your long time support for my videos, and to all my other subscribers, thank you for being with me all this time. I know I haven't been around. I haven't really had a lot of time to make videos. I mean, I haven't had enough days off. My hands have been hurting all the time because my job is physical, it's physical labor and everything, and I work like 7 days a week for like 9 months out of a year. I mean, I'm going to be off Thursday, and because this is in the middle of high production season, I'm actually surprised by that. I actually had to pinch myself to make sure I wasn't dreaming when I heard about that. But then again, they can change their minds if they want to about that, and we could just as easily be working once more. But then again, that's the South for you. That's Alabama. You get a good job. You get a good paying job, comparatively speaking, and you're going to be working 7 days a week for months on end. It's just that simple. It's a right to work state, and you're going to get drugged through the mud. Anyway, Active Asshole on Roids. Peace out, everybody. And again, sorry the video turned out so long and choppy. I know I said I'd do better, but it's been a long night, and I'm pooped. I'm out of it. And I'm probably going to go jump in the sack after a quick round of Minecraft anyway. So, Take care, everybody.